Good evening, this is BelGeode and we are back with some DoveTail Games Flight School. Now I'm continuing my first look at this new flight simulator that is geared towards newcomers to the flight simming community. Basically, it's trying to get more and more people interested in it. So, with that being said, it is not geared towards those of us who are considered veteran simmers. But I'm going to show you this anyway because, number one, I really think it's a great idea what DoveTail is doing, and I think it's going to lead to some really good stuff down the road for those of us who are waiting for the successor to FSX, which should be coming later this year. So let's hop back into Piper Cub and we'll continue our flight around the Pittsburgh area, and we'll pick up where we left off with my little tour of my home area. So welcome back, and when last we left off, we had just done a touch and go at one of my two home airports, that being Pittsburgh International, or KPIT. This is KPIT, and this is pretty much what it looks like, minus the buildings for the US Air, or I guess now American Airlines hangars. But yeah, pretty much everything's set up that way. Back there behind the aircraft is where UPS and FedEx park. There's actually a bunch of office buildings in that neighborhood on the other side of the airport there. Right now they have that as residential, but again, as I explained in my last video, I really don't expect DoveTail or Orbix to get all of these details 100% correct. I'm just glad that they gave us a 64-bit platform that we can actually fly in. Now, with that being said, as I said before, we are not the target audience. We who have been doing this for a while are not the target audience for this game. And I will be going through some of the actual flight lessons to show that off a little bit later. But I figured for my first foray into DoveTail's flight school, I wanted to actually fly around my neighborhood and get a feel for it, see if the game actually sucks me in, because that'll give me an idea how well they're going to do with the actual flight simulator that we get later this year. Alright, so let's hop back in the cockpit and we'll join our flight in progress. I'm going to pull up the handy dandy GPS because, as you can see, we need to head to our next waypoint. So let's go ahead and unpause this and we'll get the Piper Cub moving here. Okay, I believe I was gaining altitude. We are about 2,500, which is exactly where I need to be. Now it should change. There it is, just did. Okay, so we're going to Golf 05. Golf 05 is a small airport in southern Allegheny, and actually I think it's in Washington County, which is the county just south of Allegheny. That is Finleyville Airport. There's not a whole heck of a lot there. It's one of those where you pretty much have to use Unicom. So I'm probably just going to come in, do a touch and go. Hopefully it won't take me as long as this one did. And we will continue from there. So that's the parkway, that's I-376, and it does cross over I-79 a little bit further down, but that is not the actual crossover. I do like the fact that they included what we're looking at down there. That is something that's brand new. That never existed at the time that FSX came out, that little interchange there. So the fact that they included that is a pretty good thing. Good on you guys for including that. So I can imagine if they've given that level of attention to this area, I can only imagine what the other areas around the world have that are very similar to what exists there now. And I'm getting above my altitude here. I wanted to stay around 2,500. Let's see if we can drop down a bit here. Alright, so according to this, it should take us 9 minutes to reach Finleyville. This is definitely the longest leg in our journey. But as soon as I get down to 2,500, I'll probably open up the throttle because it looks like the old bird can handle it. This is not A2A, so I don't think I'll like bust a spark plug if I do something wrong on this. Although that remains to be seen. I'm sure Scott Gentile's probably watching this like, eee! Sorry, Scott. Okay. Right here is where I need to be, so let's go ahead and give it a bit of throttle. I don't want to take us past 120, but somewhere between 110 and 120 should be just nice. Just nice. Sun is starting to set. Sunset is my absolute favorite time of day, so this will be one of the points that I'm going to judge you on, DoveTail. If your sunset looks good, you will have impressed me. Although I'm not going to lie, you've impressed me already. If this is what we can expect in the new game, the new sim, then I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, there are areas of opportunity that you all can work on, but overall the engine is pretty rock solid, I will give you that. Alright, I want to make sure I'm on course here so I can close the GPS. I want to say that flashing off in the distance is probably going to be Finleyville, but no, I think that's just like the light glinting off buildings. Which brings to mind a good point. I like the lighting, the shading, and all of that stuff, and the fact that objects do reflect. This is good. And I also did notice that they addressed one of the things that I had suggested a few months back when this thing was first being announced, and that is the fact that clouds can have shadows. Obviously you can't see them right now because of the fact that, well, let's face it, we're in a clear sky. This is exactly what the sky looks like today. But if we did have clouds on there, I did notice that there is a setting to make sure that the clouds are casting shadows. And I think that's actually tied to your graphic sliders. If you put everything to ultra, you'll be able to see that. But just like with FSX, you can modify it. You can pick and choose how you want to have everything set up there. Alright, so the airport we're seeing under the GPS is where we originally took off from. That is Allegheny County. That will be our final destination. But for now, we are going to pass it and continue heading south. Alright, and am I getting up there in altitude again? Yes, I am. Okay. I still have not found the trimmer on this, so I'm not quite sure what's up with that. Obviously, my Cytec X52 settings are not 100% accurate to the way that flight school is set up. But for my purposes, it will do. Okay, so we've got about 5 minutes and 11 miles to Finleyville. I happen to know Finleyville is one of the few north-to-south runways, well, relatively speaking, north-to-south runways in this area. A lot of the other airports are going to be east to west. For example, KPIT that we just passed, the main runways, the three of them, are facing east to west. The one that we landed on was a crosswind runway, which I believe I explained in the last video is not normally used in this neck of the woods. So I'm actually kind of surprised that they had that one active. But be that as it may, we're going to be coming straight in to Golf 05 in the next 5 minutes here. I did say I was going to get rid of the GPS, so let's go ahead and do that because we really don't need it right now. I kind of know where I'm going here. Yep, there is I-79. Good old interstates. Gotta love them. Alright, I cannot see Finleyville from here, but then considering how hazy everything looks, which is also pretty close to real life, I don't expect to see Finleyville right now. But let's take a quick look at some of the outside views that we were given. A lot of the standard fare that you're used to as far as FSX goes. So you've got my favorite cam here, the chase cam. And of course, if we cycle through the views, you'll see a side cam on that side cam on that side. You can zoom in, zoom out. Pretty much the same that you're used to seeing. Nothing has changed as far as that goes. For new pilots or new virtual pilots getting into the whole flight sim genre, this is an excellent way to learn, and I can't think of a better starting place than with FSX's engine. So even though DoveTail has taken a lot of criticism about that, who are you?
32, ready for takeoff. IF shoot clear.
Oh, son of a...
November 5.
Why am I still on this channel?
6 hotel. Cleared for takeoff. Runway 32.
Why is she still talking? I thought I switched channel. Okay. Now I lost my train of thought. But yeah, what I was saying was, for new pilots coming in to this, yeah, I'm pretty sure that this would be the best place to start, would be with FSX as a base. Because, I mean, let's face it, between FS 2004 or FS9 and FSX, that's pretty much the pinnacle of what was achieved with flight simming over the last, what, 20 years? can't believe I actually said that. Has it been that long? No, more like 10 years, I think. Yeah, probably about 10, 12 years. But if you're using that as a starting place and then going from there, it's going to breed familiarity. So that's why I applaud DoveTail for their decision on this, because for us simmers who are going to be getting the full flight sim later this year, if you're using this as a starting place, this is going to make it a lot easier for us to transition from the one to the other. And also, and this is just pure speculation here, it might also mean that a lot of our third-party add-ons, it might be easier to convert over. I don't know what the code is like. I'm not a coder, so, you know, don't quote me on any of that. But everything that I'm seeing here does look like a super beefed up FSX on steroids, so I would not be too surprised if third-party developers have an easier time adapting to the new flight sim that's coming. Alright, I do have my ATC window up, so let's concentrate on flying here for a second. Select runway for landing. We're only going to do a touch and go, and I believe we are pointed in the right direction, so we want runway 14. Announce touch and go landing, and we'll announce our position, which will help me figure out where the hell I am. Okay, Golf 05 traffic, Piper November, Niner 1144 is 4 miles northwest, 2,900, inbound touch and go, left traffic, runway 14. Okay, I like this. We're 4 miles northwest. Okay, let's take a look at the GPS here. Oh, okay. I could probably zoom in though, so let me go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, yeah, the runway should be directly ahead. It looks like I am lined up a little to the left. There is the VOR for Allegheny, AGC. We're passing directly over it. I think I know what neighborhood that's in too. And there's our airport, right at the corner of the GPS. So let's go ahead and drop our speed. Get rid of the GPS. And wow, look at that sunset starting. Hold on, I gotta get an outside view here. Sweet! That's a Kodak moment. That is our Kodak moment. Okay. Alright, now we'll concentrate on landing this thing. Now, this is not one of the airports that I've flown into in real life, so to be honest with you, I am not 100% sure about this particular one. I just know that it's close by. The next airport that we'll be stopping in, which you can probably see off in the distance there, that one I have gone to in real life, but I'll tell you about that one in a second here. And just like most of the airports in the Pittsburgh area, yeah, they're all on little plateaus like this. So again, good deal DoveTail and Orbix for replicating that in this game. I keep calling it a game. It's a flight sim. Alright, I'm on final. Golf 05 traffic. Piper November Niner 1144 is on final. Runway 14, touch and go. Left traffic. I hope they heard me, because I'm coming in. And I'm way off course. This is why I'm going back to flight school, people. I gotta learn how to do this stuff right. Of course, now I'm having wicked evil thoughts and wondering what's the likelihood of me actually grafting the A2A Piper Cub in this thing. Yeah, DoveTail would kill me if I did that. Alright. Little bit shallow, but this is okay. This is what I want. Right here. Flare. And we're going to bounce. We are going to bounce. There's a bounce. There's another bounce. Okay. So this is Finleyville, everybody. Say hi. Hi, Finleyville. Bye, Finleyville. Good thing this is a Piper Cub. We'll get airborne in no time. Okay. So, that was Finleyville. Hope you enjoyed it. If I remember correctly, there's a really good diner down that way. If I remember the name of it, I'll post it in the comments or in the video description. Alright, so we are now going to head 091, or 090 as the case may be. That is due east. Right there is good. And we'll have to correct our course in a moment here. The next airport that we're going to is called Rostraver. Rossstraver. Rostraver is one of those airports that I have been to in real life. When I was doing my actual flight lessons, that was basically our practice airport for our touch and goes and pattern work. Awesome little airport, and I can't say enough good things about Rostraver. Okay, so we are announcing we are on upwind. Golf Sierra 5 traffic, Piper November 9er1144 is on upwind, runway 14. And actually, we won't be landing, so see ya. So long, suckers. Alright, let's go back. We're pretty much just going to head straight for Rostraver. Yeah, there it is. There's the spelling. Rostraver. Yeah, there's no extra S in there. Really cool little airport. Once again, just like all the other airports here in western Pennsylvania, it's on a plateau. And I do not believe they have a tower either. So, yeah, we're going to need to do the same thing here. And since we're within 10 miles, we can already call them. Alright, so we're going to select the runway. We are already pointing in the right direction, so we want runway 8. And we will tell them we want to do a touch and go here. Announce on position. Oh wait, that is not what I wanted. No! Don't even start that! I don't need to know the weather! Leave me alone! Okay, let's try that again. Touch and go. Announce position. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. Kilo Foxtrot Whiskey Quebec traffic. Piper November 9er1144 is 6 miles west. 2,400 inbound touch and go. Left traffic. Runway 8. And I do believe that I am a little too far left of the runway, so I'm going to need to turn to the right here. Okay, let's go ahead and close the GPS because it's obstructing my view. Alright, so that is Rostraver. And yep, pretty much most of this area is wilderness, so yeah, good deal, good deal. A few clouds off in the distance. That is also common for the Pittsburgh area. If you wait a couple of hours, the weather will change, and I guarantee you it's probably going to be something you don't like. Alright, let's see. I'm not going to announce that we're on final just yet. I am, however, going to drop our power a bit, so that way we don't do such a horrendous bounce like we did back at Finleyville. Now, as I stated in the first video, I do plan on doing the actual flight school lessons so that I can give you that perspective. It's weird. I'm going to have to pull a Yoda here. I'm going to have to unlearn what I have learned in order to approach this with a serious enough attitude where I can actually review what it is that we're seeing. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up probably in my next video. I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible here. Alright, let us announce we are on base. Kilo Foxtrot Whiskey Quebec traffic. Piper November 9er1144 is on base. Runway 8. And I'm going to drop some more speed here. If I remember correctly, the first time that I flew into this airport, there was like one old lady in the FBO, and she just happened to be on the radio. So she was like monitoring us, and she kept answering us like she was ATC. I think that might have been like her dream or something, or maybe she was an ATC back in the past sometime. But yeah, I remember she kept getting on the radio there and acting like she was the tower over at Rostraver. And like I said, this is a very small airport. There is no ATC in there, so I just thought that was absolutely hilarious that she decided to do that. Alright, let's go ahead and announce that we're on final. Kilo Foxtrot Whiskey Quebec traffic. Piper November 9er1144 is on final. Runway 8, touch and go. Left traffic. Okay, so that's it for the ATC window. It is getting believably dark here. This is pretty much exactly what it looks like. So once again, DoveTail, good job on that. Your atmospherics are delightful, if I should say so myself. Alright, now I am a little bit high, and I got people walking in and out of my house. If you just heard a door slam, don't look around your house. It's not you, it's actually me. Okay, that's all them people that saw that in the first video where I live, so they're all knocking on my door now. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if we can do this right. We are not quite lined up. That's no surprise there. It is me after all. But yeah, this is pretty much Rostraver, and this is pretty much what it looks like here, except there's a few more houses and a lot less pine trees. Seriously, what is the obsession with pine trees between Orbix and DoveTail? Somebody please answer that for me. Why are you so obsessed with pine trees? They're really not that many. Alright, let's do our touch and go here. Or in my case, a bounce. Alright, and we'll flare. A little too much flare on that one. Okay, that actually looks decent. Only one bounce this time. Okay, let's go ahead and give it full throttle. And we will say goodbye to Rostraver. And head back home. Alright, there we go. Tail is up. Straighten up the rudder here. We'll head on runway heading. We'll open up the GPS. Okay, so we are going to need to head 317 to get back to Allegheny County Airport. So what I will do is we'll make a slow right-hand turn. We'll go over Rostraver, and then we'll head in the proper direction. And then once we get on course, we'll go ahead and call a tower, because as you can see, we're just about 10 miles away from the airport, so it's really not going to take us that long to get there. Alright, so let's make our right-hand turn there. I like the fact that the shading on this thing is starting to get believably dark. This is good. I am going to go ahead and put our lights on. Let's check outside. Yep, lights are on. Very good. And I like the fact that the GPS actually persists when you change views. That was not something that existed in FSX, so that was a really good idea there. One thing that I do have a little bit of a complaint on with this flight sim, I do notice that if you change any of the settings and you quit out of the game and then come back in the game, the settings are back to whatever they were, default settings. So that needs to be changed, I think. That's just a little constructive feedback for DoveTail as far as making sure that the game remembers what you originally have it set to. Otherwise, that may be a source of frustration to new players who, you know, just figured out how they can make whatever changes they can make to make it more comfortable for themselves. So yeah, please keep that in mind. Make sure your settings can be saved. Might want to hotfix that. Alright, so we're on our last leg here. We've got 6 minutes to go until we're back in Allegheny. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a little bit more power. We are currently at 2,400 feet. I'm not going to get much more higher than this. I still have not found the trimmers, but that's okay. We'll live with it. Alright, since I know that we are essentially on course, we'll go ahead and straighten up here and head towards Allegheny. Okay, this is where we need to go. You can already see Allegheny in the distance, and that is one good thing that I will say. The visibility in this game is a hell of a lot better than what I've seen in previous flight sims. One thing I will complain about, though, is that last episode you saw that Piper that we could not see. He was invisible until we actually touched down, but I'm sure that's stuff that can be tweaked, so I'm not too worried about it. Alright, let's get rid of the GPS. Call a tower, watch the sunset. Ah, that's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Okay, so let's go back. And we are out of Rostraver, so we'll go back. Okay, we want 5, Allegheny County, Allegheny Tower. And let's speak to the computer lady. I mentioned in the last video, I will say it again, I'm not really a fan of the computerized voice that they went with. Aside from the fact that she sounds distinctively British and we're in Pittsburgh. I mean, no slam on DoveTail, yeah, I understand where you're based. But as far as the quality of the voice, I think the FSX voices did sound a little bit better. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Request full stop landing. Allegheny Tower, Piper, November 9er 1144 is 7 miles southeast with Juliet to land.
Piper, November 91144, Allegheny Tower. Fly for traffic, runway 10, altimeter 2992.
Okay, case in point. Notice how she says the word one. That's a very British way of saying one. Let's go ahead and acknowledge her, though. Fly right traffic, runway 10, Piper 144. This coming from the man who comes from a country where they pronounce 3 tree. Yeah. Alright, so the rest of this we can do VFR. So let me give it a little bit more of what I assume is trim, even though it does not look like it's bound to that. No, that does not work. Alright, so we'll just come off the throttle here. And we'll go ahead and bring this bird in. Okay, now would be a good time to come in.
5, 3, 7, 2, 4, at runway 10, ready for takeoff, north departure.
Okay then.
Piper, November 53724, cleared for takeoff, runway 10, departure to the north, approved.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 10, Piper 724.
Okay, well, if you all are done talking, I guess I can get a word in edgeways. Alright, I was going to say, let's go ahead and drop some speed here, because we're going to need to get ready to turn on final.
144.
Seriously?
To last, runway 10.
You don't say. Well, thank you, lady. Cleared to land, runway 10, Piper 144. Alright, well, now that we've officially got clearance, let me start slowing us down here. Our descent rate is close to 500 feet. So we're looking good. This is going to be a really funky turn, folks. I'm not going to lie. This one's going to be one of the catty corner turns of the century here. So we're going to go ahead and pass up the runway. We're going to go over Century 3 Mall. That isn't quite there, but it is there in real life. Trust me on this one. And we'll turn around. Oh, look, we can see the Piper taking off there. That is so cool. Well, let's watch him while we descend here, or we descend. Good luck in your flight, sir. Wish you all the best. Don't know where you're going, but yeah, have fun with that. Appreciate that. Alright, put the control or the shift O back on. Oh, incidentally, this is where the radios are, just in case you were curious about that. Alright, let's go ahead and do this. There's another beautiful shot of downtown Pittsburgh in the sunset. Look from the outside. I think that might be one of our title shots there. It's a pretty thing. It's a pretty thing. Okay, this is our base leg right here. And I guess that rectangular building is probably supposed to be Century 3 Mall. Alright, we'll go with it. We'll go with it. I'm going to start descending here. Back in the cockpit. Lower some speed. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to keep the shift O on, so you'll be seeing that crosshairs. It's the downside of not having a track IR, or proper track IR. Go ahead and put it down to near idle. Our descent rate is a little steep for a Piper Cub. I'm not sure that I would actually do that sort of thing in real life, to be honest with you. But it is a flight simulator. We can get away with it, even though I do have this thing on realistic settings. And again, I'm kind of curious as to what Scott Gentile from A to A thinks about this. Imagine he's probably chomping at the bit to get his A to A Cub in.
4. You're leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved.
Okay, you weren't talking to me. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so there's our runway. Take a quick picture. We are just about lined up. Let's go ahead and bring this bad boy home. And now I'm too high. Seriously? Thought I had that in check. I might have to create a new X52 profile for this, since obviously some things are different, like my trimmers I don't have access to for some strange reason. Everything else looks to be the same though. And we've got a very good glide slope there, by the books. By the books. Keep bringing her down. And throttle to idle. Flare. It was only one bounce this time.
Piper 144. Exit runway enable.
I will exit runway when I feel like. But I thank you for the advice. Flight hours, 1 hour and 13 minutes. Very nice. Not bad for this old dog learning new tricks. Okay, we're going to take it down to the next taxiway. We'll get off there and we will call this thing done. So what are my final views on DoveTail's flight school? Seeing as how I am not the target audience, I think for what it is very good. If I were a brand new virtual pilot...
4. Turn next taxiway.
Lady, do you mind? I'm trying to give a review here. Seriously? I'm going to turn right now. I promise you. Oi. Alright, let me deal with this lady first, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on this. Here we go.
Piper 144. Contact ground on 121.7.
I will do just that, just for you, lady. 121.7 for Piper 144. I'm totally not contacting the ground on this one. Okay, so where was I? My final views on DoveTail's flight school. They have managed to streamline a lot of things. They have managed to pick up the ball where Microsoft left off, and I think they've actually done a pretty good job of it. If I were a brand new pilot to flight simming, I would actually be pretty impressed with this. And the reason why I say that is because it is familiar, it is easy for me to get into, and it is very, very user-friendly. That is the key when you're coming into a flight sim. You want something that is not going to turn you off or make you feel like you've got to jump through 5 billion hoops just to get the dang thing to work right, let alone figure out what the heck you're doing in it. So I would say that they really pulled that off. And quite frankly, I am happy that they came up with this, because this also gives us, the seasoned hardcore flight simmers, quote unquote, a real insight into what we can expect. Now, will the graphics look exactly like this? Will all the various things that we're used to seeing in FSX look like this? Who knows? Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But one thing I will remind you all, there's not much graphical difference between FS9 or FS 2004 and FSX. If this thing, or the full flight sim version to this, is supposed to be the successor to FSX, don't expect it to look much different. Like, seriously, over the course of flight simulation, it's been a gradual progression, and I think the real takeaway should be the technology that's being used, the fact that we're getting really decent frames here, and the fact that we're not getting any out-of-memory errors. This thing's pretty polished. Except for the few things that I've mentioned in the course of these last two videos, I would say this sucker's ready for prime time. DoveTail, I'm going to give you 2 thumbs up on this one. This is pretty damn good. Alright, but with that being said, we are down. Let's go ahead and turn our Piper Cub off, and we will call it done. and I'm probably going to need to take that off. Okay, so I don't remember where the off switch is on this, so I'm just going to do this. There we go. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed your little flight around Pittsburgh with me, BelGeode. Flying tip, our engine is not started. That is unfortunate, but yeah, they're just going to have to deal with it. All right, so that is it. DoveTail Flight School. Like I said, I give this one 2 thumbs up. As a veteran flight simmer, looking at it from the eyes of someone who just got into flight simming, this is pretty impressive, and it's easy for me to get into. I will be going into the actual lessons just to see, what DoveTail has in store for us there, because that is the meat and potatoes for this thing. So that's the real telling point. That's going to determine whether those new pilots just getting in and being awed by this and the fact that they can fly around their home airport are actually going to stick with this thing, because it's easier to use now. So that will do it for me. Thank you so much for watching. This has been BelGeode playing DoveTail's Flight School, and I will catch you on the next one. If you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give me a like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. Thank you very much for this, DoveTail. I think this was a step in the right direction, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be the foundation for what we have yet to come. Alrighty, folks, from beautiful Western PA, Pittsburgh, PA, I wish you all the best. Ciao.